Welcome to episode 129 of the Inside Job Boards and Recruitment Marketplaces podcast. I am one of your two co-hosts. I'm Stephen Rothberg, the founder of College Recruiter Job Search Site, and joined today by our guest and perhaps as importantly, probably not, our other co-host, Peter Zollman, and we're going to be talking money, 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 money.
Thanks. I'm with the AIM Group, started it 29 years ago, and we work with job boards and recruitment marketplaces. And we're going to get straight to Marc Belaiche. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. Marc is co-founder, in case you're listening, not watching, Marc is co-founder of Guhuza and TorontoJobs.ca. Note that it's .ca, not .com. Guhuza is the interesting one and the tricky one today, and we're going to focus primarily on that. As Stephen and I were saying, if you're listening to this podcast and you can't figure out what TorontoJobs.com is,
.ca.
.ca. Thank you.
.ca.
.ca. I blew it.
Not those scoundrels with the .com.
Okay, I blew it. But in any case, if you can't figure out what TorontoJobs.ca is, you might as well hit the stop button right now. So we're going to talk about Guhuza. I'm going to give you a shot at saying in 30 seconds or less, what is Guhuza and why on earth?
Well, 30 years of experience in the staffing and recruiting industry, thought there were issues with connecting people. So we just thought, wouldn't it be great if a recruiter could just upload a job, push a button, and start interviewing candidates live on the platform within minutes? Kind of like Uber, you push a button, you say where you want to go from and to, you push a button, somebody shows up. Why can't we do that in the recruiting space? Shorten the process.
Sounds fair to me. You say it's like Spotify for job boards. You got another 60 seconds.
Okay, I'm trying to be very time sensitive here. So I'll take you back to really quickly the Spotify story. And if you're not familiar with it, you should. There's a great Netflix movie on it. And it talks about how the record industry was kind of like what I think the job board industry is today. Back then, a few years, like several years ago before Spotify, you had all this music and it was kind of like you had to buy a song for like 99 cents or $1.99 or whatever. You could download it and you can kind of share it with friends, but it became very expensive and you didn't really have a great way of getting it. And musicians were unhappy with how they were getting paid and so on. So what Spotify did was they basically said, we'll create a platform where we will allow listeners to listen to all the different music. So I roll forward the clock and I think of job boards and the inventory within the job boards in terms of resumes. I think of that as where the music industry was before. A lot of resumes, a lot of great candidates, a lot of everything, but nobody's using it and leveraging it to the extent that they could. So that we've created that platform that we can re-engage and connect with those job seekers and those resumes.
And Marc, you and I have had a number of conversations. You've been on the job board leaders roundtable calls that I host once a month, and we've also had some partnership discussions. My recollection is that it's that employers, staffing companies can essentially like log into Guhuza and search the resume or CV banks across multiple platforms. So it's sort of like an all-in-one search. Is that kind of a fair way of describing it?
Well, so the recruiter or staffing company or employer, they don't do the search themselves. We do the search. We use our AI matching technology to get candidates that are matched for that role based on the job description and find whatever, 100, 200, 300, 500 candidates that match exactly that role based on that job description. And then we send out messages to candidates that are matched for that role.
Cool. And then does the employer or the advertiser or whatever you might want to call them, the staffing company, the employer, do they have to have subscriptions to or contracts with each of the job boards? And the reason I ask this is because I remember when ZipRecruiter got started, a big part of their value proposition was that employers would pay them, I think it was like $100 a post. And then ZipRecruiter would post that job to 50 or 100, 200, however many different job boards. So the employer the job board could monetize that employer even if the employer didn't know anything about the job board. And to me, that's an interesting monetization because it doesn't cannibalize your sales. You're getting like totally new business that you wouldn't get otherwise. How does it work with Guhuza?
Yeah, so we actually have there's three different types of scenarios. One is where we just partner and we just share revenues with that board. The second one is where there's actually they can use their credits. So say for example they have an account with a job board and they want to use those credits to apply with Gahuza. They can just say click, we want to search on this one. Or the third one where we can sell resumes. So for example, if there's a job board that says, hey, you know what, we'll sell the resumes, we'll do a revenue split. So we want, 50 cents, a dollar, what it is for the resume. We resell it. And then that's how the job board earns money. We are good. And the candidates within that job board also get pinged for a live interview.
Yeah, we were talking about diversifying revenue streams for job boards, and I guess that's one element. This is one way that a job board can diversify its revenue stream. And we've had people on in the past month or two who've talked about other ways of diversifying revenue streams. One thing that you do, or you've told me you do, that intrigues me. Right now, we're looking for an administrative assistant. And the process of getting them to send a cover letter, which we demand, we insist on, we won't interview without it, and then scheduling an appointment for a call, you structure it so that the recruiter can do almost instantaneous interviews, video interviews with the candidates. How does that work?
Yeah, so our goal is for the first candidate to come in within 15 minutes of the employer pushing the button. So, we kind of looked at Uber's model, and I think their model is 3 to 4 minutes for an Uber cab to show up at your door. So, right,
No, we tell
depending on
you
your,
it's 3 to 4 minutes.
oh, that's
It's
true too.
always 15 to 20 minutes.
Right, sometimes
We
it's
tell,
more.
oh, it'll be 3 minutes. Okay, bring it. And then 10 minutes later, it'll be
That's
6 minutes. Anyway,
that's weird
enough of that.
because I always have the black cars just waiting for me. In fact, they're following me around and the black helicopters, but maybe that's another issue.
Yeah.
So so our model, administrative assistant, perfect example. How long would it normally take you in today's world to connect with somebody to have that first interview? It might be hours, maybe days, sometimes weeks.
Yeah.
In our case, we just want upload that job. We'll help you even write the job and analyze it and tell you what's maybe missing about it. Push that button. Our system right away sends messages out to candidates that are matched, inviting them to interview live. And those candidates come in as soon as they get that text. They look at that job. They say, hey, I'm interested. I like it. I think it's a good match. I join. The employer sees them come into the waiting room. They start the interview. It's as quick as possible. Now, it don't Guhuza only works to fix that little narrow segment between the time that you have a job to the time you start interviewing candidates. Everything else after that, the job offer, negotiating, interviews, onboarding, all that kind of stuff, that's nothing to do with Guhuza. We're just simplifying that first connection.
And when you and I first talked about this, which is probably 9 months or a year ago now, you had made you Gahuza had managed at least dozens, maybe hundreds of connections, although I think it was still in the dozens. How many hundreds, thousands, tens of millions have you done now?
Well, we're at 20. We just surpassed 2,500. So
Okay.
I'm of the mindset that we should be having 2,500 interviews going on right now on the platform.
Mm.
There's a million interview first interviews, and by the way, this is just for first interviews, really that first connection. There's a million first interviews that happen in North America every single day. So how much potential? How many, even if we're doing 10,000 interviews on the platform each day, that's only 1% of all interviews that are happening. So how much time are we all collectively wasting by setting up interviews, scheduling, rescheduling, screening resumes, looking at resumes, deciding whether this is the right resume or not? It's phenomenal how much time is being wasted on this stuff collectively through the world, not just Canada or US or North America, whatever. Collectively, we are wasting a lot of time.
So as somebody who finds hockey to be a very, very important thing in life, I do, and you see the Austin Matthews jersey behind you, who's the star center for the Toronto Maple Leafs. I do have to ask you if the Leafs have used Guhuza to try to find some good defensemen. No, I'm just kidding. In all seriousness, you're having conversations with a lot of different job boards. In terms of like alternative revenue streams, other than selling postings, selling resume searching, other than Guhuza, what are some of the other ones that you've heard that it's like, that's a good idea?
In terms of other revenue streams?
Yeah, like if I'm I am a job board owner, but if I'm a job board owner,
you forgot.
Yeah, exactly.
I am too.
Exactly. But in postings and resume or CV searching are the bulk of the revenues for the vast majority of job boards. Other than partnering with a Guhuza, what are some other revenue streams that you're hearing from job boards or even TorontoJobs.ca that you've found to be successful?
Well, I think anytime you can monetize that resume database, because that's really where things are. So what I've also heard, because people, excuse me, people approach me all the time. What about doing this with your database? And I'm thinking of TorontoJobs.ca because they approach me through TorontoJobs.ca. Excuse me. And what they tend to do is, hey, what about doing some evaluations, some background checks, some wouldn't it be great if somebody could do like a background check on their profile so that when they talk to an employer, they already have their background done, credit checks, criminal checks, confirm verification that I'm a CPA, confirm verification that I'm a CPA before the employer even does that. Assessments, background assessments, skills assessments. These are all things that I've been approached by other vendors saying, hey, like you can monetize this, you can charge the employer for an upgraded service, or you can charge the candidate, the job seeker who's registered with you, or give them a free assessment, and if you want like something higher end, you got to pay X dollars to do that. So those are other ways that I've heard where people can monetize this their database.
Cool. Peter, I think we have time for one more question. You want to grab it?
Sure. So if you've done that number of matches so far, and primarily in Toronto area, correct?
Primarily, although we have US companies, but yeah, primarily we started in Toronto, but the concept is the same everywhere.
Yeah. How are you going to get to 10,000 or $1 million a day, or 100,000 a day, which is 10%, in the next year?
Great question. We are in process. See, the nice thing is that every time somebody pushes the button and every time somebody gets an interview, they will tell a lot of people. So that can be really big viral. And when we connected TorontoJobs.ca into Guhuza, within the first year, we had 8 times increase in traffic year over year from the time we started to the time messages started going out saying, hey, we found your resume on TorontoJobs.ca, interview live right now on Guhuza. It was just, kind of magical. Over the last 6 months, we've had a 50% increase in the number of resumes that we've had. So, we're increasing multifold. And, of course, you go up really high, really steep in the early years and months and so on, and then it kind of levels itself out in many ways. But we're using the platform as a marketing machine, as a marketing engine. People will tell their friends they got an interview, they got it through Guhuza, they got a job through Guhuza. No cost to the candidate to register. Right? I mean, they just upload their resume just like they would on any job board.
Well, that sounds like a good place to end it. Thank you for joining us. I hope spring has sprung in Toronto by now or soon. And I hope spring has sprung in Minneapolis by now or soon. Probably not for another month or two for you, Mr. Rothberg. But hey, thanks, guys. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks.
Cheers. Thanks, Mark.
Bye.